Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's time once again for another episode of our community podcast. The Hispanic business community here in Orange County, highlighted by the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio. Streaming live from our studios here at the University of California, Irvine's Beale Applied Innovation Center. And today, we got old money in the house here today. We've got John Gutierrez and...
All right, here we go. We are back again. Welcome, everybody, to our community podcast show, powered by the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Again, thank you all for tuning in. We have another special guest today with us today. Her name is Kerrington Eubanks. She's the Senior Managing Director of Strategic Partnerships at LENDISTRY. And we want to welcome her today to the show. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Happy to be here.
I just want to quickly point out LENDISTRY is one of our longtime big supporters, members, and we just want to thank you and appreciate all you're doing to help us here at the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
No, you're absolutely welcome. It's a pleasure. We enjoy the partnership very much.
I just wanted to briefly point out LENDISTRY is a minority-led fintech that provides innovative lending products and access to grant programs for small businesses nationwide. LENDISTRY has supported over 37,000 businesses with 503 million. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's actually, John, in Orange County.
Wow, just in Orange County. In capital since 2016. That's grants and loans in Orange County. That is amazing. That is amazing. So we're going to get into LENDISTRY, what it does for the community, what it does for businesses, which is amazing. And this is why it's exciting that we have you guys on the show, because it's important that we share with the community everything you're doing. But before we do that, we want to get a little bit into you, if you don't mind, and just how did you end up in this situation and this position at LENDISTRY? But most importantly, can you share with us and the listeners a little bit about you and maybe where you grew up and your family?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you. I grew up in Rancho Cucamonga. I was born to my mother. She's Latina. My father, he's a Black man, and so grew up biracial, and learned a lot on both sides of the culture. And I went to Rancho Cucamonga High School. I went to college, and I never really knew, John, what exactly I wanted to do. And I don't know if anybody else feels the same way, but I was like struggling with, what am I going to do when I get out of high school? What am I going to do when I graduate college? What's going to be the plan? So I ended up getting my bachelor's in international business and language, and ironically, I was. Thank you. Thanks for fixing that.
Yes.
I had walked in, after graduating college, I said, I got to get a bank account that is separate from my parents, so I walk into the bank, I get an account and make friends with that banker. And he says, have you ever thought about banking? And that's how it started. I got into banking. I would say I'm a former banker in my past life, but during that time is when I met LENDISTRY, and they became a client of mine. And I learned about all the special things that they were doing. I believe we met in 2016, 2017. And it was in May of 2021 that I joined the team officially. And so I went from banking to working for LENDISTRY, a CDFI. And it has been the most rewarding decision that I've ever made.
Now, before we get into LENDISTRY some more, which I just want to point out, for those of you listening or watching, Rancho Cucamonga is out in the San Bernardino Riverside area, right?
Yep, the Inland Empire.
Inland Empire, okay. And I know if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but I often go out there with my kids and my wife to Bass Pro Shop. I think it's in that area, right, Paul?
It is.
It's this great store. So we love going out there. It is a little warm. I'm not gonna lie, right?
It is.
It's way out in the Ontario Mills.
Yes,
It's hot.
Ontario Mills. Is that right?
Oh, it's actually at Victoria Gardens, the newer mall.
Oh, okay.
And I've seen it 1 trillion times. I have never been inside the store.
Really?
I know.
Interesting.
I know.
Now, you mentioned your mom being Latina, your father, right? How they met. You said before the show, you mentioned they met when they were young kids, huh?
Yeah, they've known each other since they were 12 years old.
Shout out to mom and dad.
Yeah, they grew up in Pomona. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that area. They grew up in Pomona. They were friends since they were 12.
That's
they got
awesome.
married out of high school. I mean, it's an amazing story. I will say that they are not together anymore. They did divorce, but remained the best of friends, which
That's
was
good. That's
amazing.
great to hear. That's
Yes,
great to hear.
yes.
And I'm sure that was important for you, right? That they maintained that strong relationship.
Yeah, in hindsight, I look back and think, I mean, how many people get that experience where like their parents still like go to the movies with you together, go to theme parks and things. Like it was just the best experience.
Now you're an only child or siblings?
I have a sister. And she has 3 children who are my pride and joy. So I have
Shout
2
out to the
nephews.
sister.
2 nephews, a niece. So yeah, I'm not even going to say the ages because then you guys are going to kind of know how old I really am.
Well, it's important for us to learn about our guest, where they grew up, the environment they were around, right? Because as you all know, we have a great mentorship program, our youth chamber, which by the way, thank you for always supporting everything we do, in the
Absolutely.
community. I know you guys are going to be involved in our golf tournament as one of our sponsors, so thank you so much for that.
Absolutely.
Because that supports our youth chamber scholarship foundation, right? So it's important for our listeners that are listening, our youth chamber, to know as a young Latina, and like you said, your father being black, right? That what you went through, right? It must have been kind of tough, I would say, right? It's not always easy, right? Going to school, and I know you shared a little bit with me before that, right? But
Yeah.
it's not always, and here you are anyways at this position, in an executive position at such a large corporation. So it shows that, even though you went through those tough times, I mean, look where you're at today. That's amazing.
I have to say that, yeah, it is challenging. I think when you're young, right, when you're a child, you have a bit of an identity crisis. You don't know exactly where to fit in, and I think that's normal, right? But I think that everything that you go through in your life, every step that we take, I think leads us to where we end, where we are. And I think I needed every challenge. I needed every success. Trial to make it to where I am now. And I think that I could do a better job because of it. And so, yeah, I think it's really great. And I have to say though that LENDISTRY opened up opportunities, right, for me that I did not know were possible. So I think that my advice and what I would say and what I would want to emphasize to our youth is, if you work hard every single day, if you put 100% into everything that you're doing, and you know that at the end of the day you leave everything on the table, success will find you.
Yeah, and that's what I tell my boys. We often have these talks on the way to school, and they know Dad's gonna mention some sort of lecture about something, and I always tell them, life is challenging. I tell my son, but it almost, as you get older, you learn he who makes the less mistakes wins. So I tell my son, you don't have to be the best all the time at everything.
Yeah.
Just don't make mistakes. Like, just life will take you on its journey, right?
And learn from the mistakes, right?
Exactly.
Or from, if your parents or the mentors that you have in your life are telling you like this is not a good decision, or this might be a decision that causes you some trouble or challenges, take their advice, heed that advice, right? And don't make the same mistake that they did. They're trying to protect you from that. And I think as a child, that's a little bit harder as you're kind of forging your way.
Who would you say were your mentors?
In my life, I would say absolutely, and we've brought them up in this call, my mother and my father, very, very different as they split. Their lives are very different in that my dad's an entrepreneur, and my mom is a school teacher. And so I think that, they see the world a little bit differently, and I've benefited from both. It's been an amazing thing to watch. And they're both very successful in what they do, wildly successful, but they define success very differently.
Well, thank you for being a teacher, Mom, because I know that's such a hard job and long hours. I used to be in that industry, so I know that it's writing curriculum, I mean, dealing with everything going on. So thank you for that. And for your father being an entrepreneur, it says a lot, because maybe that's why you're so passionate about helping small businesses or businesses in general.
Yeah.
I mean, your dad being an entrepreneur, I mean, I'm sure you saw some of those things that he went through, right? Those challenges.
Absolutely. And I think that in hindsight, you think about things where my mother and father think very differently. And it might have been a contributor, like some of the things that they didn't agree on, right, as a married couple. But I think, yeah, absolutely. I saw both. And yeah, which is great.
So you end up at Lendistry. What was that like when you first started working there?
Oh my goodness. It was different. It was a very different experience for me. So in my banking career, I supported small and medium-sized businesses. But it was, deposit strategy, treasury management, if you're a banker, I'm talking about, and also loans and investments. And then, but what I realized in that space is that a lot of the small businesses that needed access to capital, well, a lot of small businesses that came to me for access to capital may not qualify. And so I always wanted to know the why and like what's happening. And so we would get into that. And then I just started realizing and learning, especially because Lendistry was kind of in step with me from 2016, 17 and on, that there were other resources available. And so as I learned about Lendistry, I would refer small businesses to Lendistry that couldn't get financing at the bank. And it's fruitful. It's a fruitful relationship, right? And coming to Lendistry, it was just different. I didn't have the same, things were different for me. I had to learn a lot. I think I didn't know how much of a learning curve it was going to be. But it's been a great experience, but challenging. But what I always say, John, to everyone that I talk to, especially those that are coming behind me, whether it's in banking or in CDFI world, as soon as you get comfortable, it's time to move on, right? Or time to, maybe ask for a new position or new role. You don't want to get comfortable. You don't want to get complacent.
That's interesting. As soon as you get comfortable,
gotta move.
As soon as you get complacent, you got to start looking at maybe stepping into another role, right?
Because I think about growth, you go through growing pains. And if those growing pains aren't there anymore, maybe the learning is, there's less learning going on. And so I always want to continue to learn. I want to make sure that I'm uncomfortable.
So in essence, you're saying you like to be challenged. The challenge is something that's important to you.
Absolutely.
So what's the next challenge? What do you think? What are some of the next goals?
I think it's just reaching more small businesses, learning what it requires, speaking to the partners that we have, like the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, finding and uncovering ways to reach small businesses with access to capital and financial education that we don't have yet, right? And so being innovative, being collaborative, and reaching more.
Well, I know that many of you that are watching or listening want to learn more about all the programs that are going on with Lendistry. And of course, one of the things we want to make sure we talk about is you have two functions, right? You have the grants, right? And you have loans. Can you share more about that? Can you elaborate more for our listeners and for anybody out there who owns a small business or a business in general, right? That is looking for these opportunities to help grow their business.
Yeah, absolutely. So Lendistry in and of itself has two functions. So we are a deployer of capital and we are a mission-based direct lender. And so we have partners in three different what I call verticals, right? And so those partners could be financial institutions or they could be government, and lastly, public-private partnerships, right? And so when I think about deployer of capital, when I put on that hat for Lendistry, I think about the state of California, right? We deployed the capital for the California COVID-19 grant program for about $3.5 billion with a B, right? We were the sole administrator of that capital. And so that was a super exciting partnership. When I think about the partnerships that we have with financial institutions, I think about all the financial institutions that tap on Lendistry to say, hey, we need support reaching communities, reaching into communities, and we just don't have what it requires to reach everybody. Can you help us, right? And so that could be we have over 50 plus bank partnerships. And we work with a large e-commerce partner on the public-private side that people are aware of. You can find on our website. But I would say when I think of deploying capital, I think of those government programs, grants.
Which I think a lot of people don't realize that by going to you, you already have all those relationships, right?
That's right.
So it's kind of like a one-stop, shop, right?
You nailed it. Absolutely. So back to like deploying capital and or the bank partnerships. If a business comes to us or a partner comes to us, we're saying, look, you don't have to do this alone. Come to LENDISTRY, and we're who we are in all of our partners, right? We're collaborative. So we're going to help you tap into those partnerships, whether it's you need the capital for your small business or you need some, you want to collaborate differently the way that we collaborate together, right? So we can tap into partnerships together.
Yeah, I know that a lot of us that are part of the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce started as small businesses, maybe grew to mid-sized businesses, right? Mm-hmm. And then the pandemic obviously may have set us back. And so many are, as senior vice president here, I go out and I meet with a lot of us small businesses in the community. And I know a lot of them, the words I've been hearing a lot have been, rebuilding, restructuring, pivoting, right? Mm-hmm. People are just rebuilding their businesses right now. And I know the pandemic's been a while, but it hit a lot of people really hard, right?
That's right.
And so it's great to know that there's partnerships in the community like yours that can come in and I'm sure assess and evaluate, right, what these businesses are going through. Absolutely. And then look at, okay, how can we help out?
Absolutely. So one thing that I do very specifically is I partner with banks. Where I live at LENDISTRY is I support our strategic partnerships. And those specific partnerships that I support are the financial institutions and our community-based organizations. And I think it is one of the most interesting places to be because you have the bank saying, hey, we need some support here. We're doing less of this kind of lending. And then you have your community-based organization saying, hey, we need these types of loans. We can't find it in the market. And so I'm at that intersection, John, where I could say, okay, let me take this information back to LENDISTRY, my family at LENDISTRY, and let's talk about this. And can we develop a program that can fill the need in the community? And so the idea is we want to be the bridge between that small business and access to capital.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of times business owners don't know from the outside looking in that maybe through the government or other areas, there's funding going into certain areas in the community with banks or whatever it may be, right? So they kind of have to almost definitely fund these programs in the community, right?
That's right.
And so that is where you guys have the inside scoop before all of us on the outside looking in.
Exactly. So like for a prime example, California COVID-19, right? Like we knew about that was coming down the pipe, but that's one program. You can go to lendistry.com and see all the different programs that we're involved in, grant programs, loan programs, and see what could be a good fit, for your small business. So absolutely, we definitely know we want to educate our network of partners. We want to educate our small businesses, and you should definitely visit lendistry.com to find all those programs and see what a good fit could be.
Now, briefly, let's go into. You've been to our Estrella Awards a few times.
Yes, it's an amazing time.
and you've enjoyed it. It seems like you've enjoyed it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's that been like? What was it like for you to go the first time? Because I want to go into a little bit about, obviously, the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and our partnership and how we work together. And by the way, thank you for always supporting our Estrella Awards and everything we do.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Now, just so you guys know, they're also looking to support our toy drive. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
We really appreciate the support. That means a lot to us. But share a little bit about the Estrella Awards. What was that like for you guys?
Oh goodness, I went last year for the first time.
Okay.
And it's just an amazing time. I think the first thing to notice when you walk into the Estrella Awards is the energy in the room, right? Everyone is so energetic. I always say, you know, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, OC, really knows how to throw a great dinner, a great party, right? Like great
Business
music.
party, business party.
Yeah, business party. We're all there, but it's a fun time. But I think it's a great place for people to go and honor those that are really working and standing out in the community, and it's a great networking experience. A great networking experience, and so I think, you know, it's a great way for us to collaborate, right, and meet other partners, meet small businesses, but love the energy there, love the people that we get to meet, and that's why we keep going back every single year. We want to support you all, and you support us too in return. So it's a great experience.
I love that you mentioned the energy in the room, because over 10 years ago, when I walked into the room for the first time at Estrella Awards, I felt that. I just, it was just I don't know, just the synergy in the room.
Yeah.
That you saw presidents of universities there, right? Then you see owners of small businesses, and every person in it. And there's about 500 plus people, so it's kind of hard to get to everybody. But as you're meeting people, you're like seeing, wow, you know, business owner, entrepreneur, they work for a big corporation or small business. And so all these people are in this, you know, melting pot, I guess you could say, right, of a room.
Exactly.
And then the awards start, and it's just beautiful to hear the stories of our winners, our you know, our nominees and stuff, and Lifetime Achievement Award that we do.
Yeah.
We had Edward James Olmos for the Lifetime Achievement Award for the entertainment industry.
So good.
That was really cool, right?
It was so good. So good. That was the last
Yes. So it's just one of those things where, you know, we love to invite all of those that are listening or watching, that our Estrella Awards is something that we always look to bring in our small businesses, which a lot of them are obviously involved, and hopefully, you know, taking advantage of the programs that you're offering, because that's really what it's about, making that connection. Bringing everybody in that room, and hopefully you're meeting them, they're meeting you, and you're able to help them, because from what I'm hearing from you is that fulfills your heart when you're helping these families, right? Or these businesses.
But that's what it is, right? These businesses owned by, you know, like, they have families, you meet their family. That's what it's all about. And I've literally come to a place where passion has met my purpose. And I think that you probably feel the same way too in our conversations. And I think you get that at the Estrella Awards, right? Like, you get that at the different events that you have and that we're able to join. And I think what's really unique, Estrella Awards conferences, everyone is so open to meeting people, right? No, everyone's just open, introducing themselves, introducing each other to one another. It's just a really great place, and it's a safe place and a safe space. Speaking
of conferences, you were just at our state convention, right? And what would you think of that? I mean, it seemed like it was pretty good, right? It was awesome.
It was an amazing conference. It was such a good time. If anyone that's listening or watching hasn't been and has the opportunity to go, I definitely recommend going to the next one. It was such a good time, and I appreciate the invitation that you guys always welcome LENDISTRY warmly. And when we get there, you guys are just amazing hosts. It was just a good time. Thank you so much.
Yes, shout out, you know, to the California Hispanic State Convention Committee too. And of course, we hosted it as being the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. But it's just great to see people from all over the state.
That's right.
I remember being at one of the dinners there, and we were in a group setting. I was talking to our buddy Feli Tech, who's in the technology industry, and he introduced me to a lady next to him. And it was just interesting when she started sharing with me they're from Bakersfield. And she was talking about the challenges that the farmers are going through in Bakersfield, right? Again, small business challenges that people have, right?
That's right.
And she was just kind of, and it was interesting when I walked away from that conversation, it just came to my mind that it's like, we have our own challenges, and, you know, city slickers, right? City people. But then you have farmers out in the middle of Bakersfield, right? That having these kind of challenges, right? That she was sharing with us, how they need a lot more support, and just helping them go through what they're going through. Obviously, for a while, we had a shortage of water, right?
That's right.
And so these are the kind of things that a state convention, right, brings people from all over, San Francisco, Bakersfield, San Diego, Riverside. I mean, there was people from everywhere, right?
I think that's the magic of the events, right? That you guys have. You bring people together, and you don't just hear. But it's not about hearing things anymore, just through the grapevine, right? You're hearing it from people who are going through something. You're able to. It becomes real, right? And they're hearing everyone's stories, and it brings that purpose. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing, right? This is why LENDISTRY is here, that supporting small businesses, being able to support small business like the one that you're describing in times that are a little bit more challenging.
What have you been seeing or hearing lately out there? I mean, being in that side of the table, what would you say some of the businesses are probably facing the most? I know, obviously, the real estate industry is going through a lot, right?
Yeah.
What are you seeing? What are you hearing for people out there listening that maybe, I don't know, we can help out in the near future, right?
Yeah, I think in a post-pandemic environment, I mean, dare I say post-pandemic environment, right? We're businesses, like we said in the beginning, are trying to bounce back from a very difficult time. Access to capital is a huge thing right now. If you don't know, there's more small businesses that have been originated recently than any time in history.
Really?
Or any time in the last 10 years, I should say. I don't want to say history, but in the last 10 years. And we're going to need to be available to have resources, financial education, and access to capital and solutions for them, right? I think what I'm seeing is deposits at banks. So banks are going through their thing. We had a couple of bank failures this year, right?
Yeah, that was tough to see.
It's tough, and it does create its own unique challenges in the market. And so I think now more than ever, banks, CDFIs, different community or organizations need to come together to be able to come to the table together and talk about the appropriate solutions for our small businesses and their families and their communities.
And it's really about stabilizing our economy, right? Like
Absolutely.
when you think about it, we're all connected somehow.
Yep.
I often go to different networking events, and some are with the real estate industry people. And people will say to me, like, John, what are you doing here? You're in healthcare, because that's my business that I own in healthcare. And I said, yes, but I also represent the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and I want to be here to learn from different industries. So even though I'm hearing and seeing everything going on in healthcare through my wife and through our business, I want to know what's going on in these other industries, because I feel like that industry really impacts so many other industries, right?
Yep.
I've heard some of my friends say, think about it, when houses aren't being sold or houses aren't being built. Now you've got all these builders and contractors not really working, right? Now it's a domino effect, right?
Everything affects something else, right? It truly is a domino effect.
Yeah.
So I think, it makes partnerships. I don't think that there's not a one size fits all, right? Solution. And so I think it's super important that that's how we treat our small businesses, right? Like no business is the same. And so we can't look at them all the same. We're going to have to develop different partnerships, collaborations, solutions to support our
And I think
community.
most importantly, you said it earlier, if anybody is watching or listening, right, go to lendistry.com, right? Because there you can see everything you guys are offering, right? And so if somebody is listening or watching and they need access to capital, they basically go there, right? And somehow, some way, they'll be connected through there.
Through lendistry.com, you can apply for access to capital, but there's also a chat box, right? And so you can ask your questions. Just something to note for today's call is, LENDISTRY is a national lender. We do lending from $25,000 up to $5 million. We're industry agnostic, so we don't have a specific industry that we favor more or less than the other. And we have about 7 offices in 4 different states, and about 400 team members, but we're headquartered right here, right in California. And so we have an office right here in Tustin. We have an office in Los Angeles. And so there's a team member on standby for when our small businesses need support, whether it's the access or financial resources. So the education piece, or they just need advice. We have that as well.
That's good to know, because a lot of times I think as business owners, from what I hear, there's that fear factor, right? Of where do I go? Who do I talk to, right? And so knowing that, even though this is a national company, knowing that there's representatives down the street in Tustin, right?
Yeah.
That somebody can, maybe meet with them or come to the office, right?
Absolutely.
I think that's important, because now people, hopefully it helps with the fear factor, because at the end of the day, businesses are the backbone of our economy, right?
100%.
I mean, that's why the government wants us to open more businesses, right? That helps our economy thrive and grow, right?
That's right.
I mean, that's how we pay taxes, right? The taxes is what pays for our schools and our streets and our lights. The other day, it's interesting, my 11-year-old was in the car with me, and after school, and we went into all of that. We started talking about, what is taxes and who pays for the streets and who pays for the lights. And we went into, because he's going into junior high, and these are things that they're going to be talking about, right? And I said, this is part of life. This is why we have this system in place, right?
That's right.
So the fact that LENDISTRY is helping small businesses either start or thrive or rebuild, right? That helps overall our economy.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
And that's the goal, right? That is the goal for LENDISTRY. And so, super exciting time.
Yes. So if anybody has comments or anybody wishes to, leave us a message, feel free either on, I know this will be on different platforms, on YouTube, on Facebook. It's always important to feel free that you can reach out to us. We'll connect you with LENDISTRY also. Obviously, go to lendistry.com. But at the same time, know that we're only, a phone call away. That's why the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce loves to bring guests on our show that are going to provide education, right?
That's right.
And access to capital, like you said.
Yeah, we're happy to be a partner with you all. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for being on our show again. Kerrington Eubanks, Senior Managing Director of Strategic Partnerships at LENDISTRY. Thank you for always supporting everything we do. We really appreciate it. We're excited to have you guys at our golf tournament and also at our annual toy drive. So thank you all for your support. And again, folks, go to lendistry.com and, definitely go in there and see how they can help you.
We look forward to meeting you.
All right, folks, have a great day, and we'll see you next time at our next show next Wednesday.
Well, there you have it. One more reason to tune in each and every time to meet our community, the Hispanic business community here in Orange County. Powered by the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio, streaming live from our studios here at the University of California, Irvine's Beale Applied Innovation Center.